episode 3 of season 3 of Coach Please. Honestly, what are we talking about today?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No,
What are
I
we?
don't know.
Wait, we're talking about our. What are we talking about?
Wait, aren't we talking about I don't know?
I don't know. Are we?
I don't know. We
Yes,
are,
today we
we
are
are.
talking about I don't know.
When coach is here, I don't know. And I don't know if I don't know if all coaches do this, Dan, but I do find myself doing it, which is, in a normal conversation, I don't know means I haven't thought about it. Let's move on. The conversation's over. But coaches typically hear something different. To them, or to me, I don't know is it's curious. This is interesting. And this is something worth exploring. It's an invitation for me to dig deeper.
Uh huh.
Now, once again, I'm not in the session. Like episode one, we find sometimes things that you're doing in a coaching session tend to bleed out into your everyday life. And I do find this one happening. I mean, I'll be in the car with my partner. I ask him a question. He classically will say, I don't know. And I'll say, what is it you don't know about it? And then before too long, he's like, what are we doing? Like, I don't want to be exploring what I don't know right now.
Uh huh. It
Mhm.
goes back to episode 1 of this season. I'm the coach right now.
Yeah. We make
So maybe,
conversations awkward.
yeah. And so maybe right there, the theme for this season is about, well, the theme for all seasons has been the difference between being in session and out of session. And what we talked about in episode 1 of like, give yourself a break. There's no need to explore here. In this moment, maybe you're like every other human being on earth that when the person says, I don't know, you're just like, sounds good to me. That
Yeah,
works.
and the thing is like I think it happens on autopilot. Like what happened in episode one for me, I wasn't even conscious that I let that silence happen until the glitch and they brought me back to reality. But definitely when I hear I don't know in my everyday life, that for me has become a different trigger. It really does become, wait, I'm curious. Wait, let's explore this. Most people that say that a lot of times it is a dead end. I don't know, and they want to just move on with the conversation. Do you think that there's any value in exploring that?
Only if they want to. I mean, only if they want to. And there's, if we step back into like the coaching lens of it, there's three basic reasons they're saying, I don't know. On a surface level, it's a process thing. They actually don't know how to do something and go to YouTube and go to Professor YouTube or Google for that. You can figure it out. And then there's they're in a place where they don't want to discuss it for one reason or another. So it's easier to just say, yeah, I don't know, and create that barrier. Or the other one is similar. They haven't really looked inside to clarify it yet. And so it's still in this process of evolving and clarity, and they don't want to say, I'm kind of figuring it out right now, because that might even be a more open invitation to let's talk about it together. And it becomes, I don't know, so it's a push off because I'm not clear on it and I want to go through my own process to figure it out. I'll We're not in a coaching session right now, so I don't want to hand over however many $100s to get clarity at this moment.
Yeah, and it's funny because sometimes if you just now we're going to use the silence. If they say I don't know, if you give them enough space, they might just keep talking. Now, what I find with some of my friends, they just move on to another topic. They don't really keep talking about why or what they don't know. But I guess the real skill here isn't asking a better question, it's just not rushing over that first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's letting it be and letting them have the space, and
But it's so
someone will always,
hard.
yeah, someone will always fill the silence. That's always going to happen somewhere along the line.
It
And
is, but what if you have a friend? Okay, you have a friend who is always responding with things around I don't know, and you really are. I mean, is it just me? Like it now begins to drive me crazy because as you said, you kind of know the reasons that are happening behind the I don't know. And it's hard as a coach to go it's really hard to go back into normal everyday conversations having now the information and the training and the understanding of what all of this is over here and what we're learning and how we're learning ourselves as a coach. I mean, it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard to sit with I don't know. It's hard for somebody that you're very close to who always says I don't know for that to be for me it's like come on again. I don't like can we ever get past this I don't know and then I have to go, well, I'm not their coach. Like I guess we don't get past it.
Well, that's a really interesting observation. And let's just sit with that for a second. So think about people coming into coach training to learn. And we have this regular rhythm of really disinterested conversation out in the world. We don't give a what anybody else has to say. We're just casually listening, not really asking deeply. It's all surface chatter. And offering unsolicited advice, all the nonsense. And then we come into a coach training. We learn you're not there to be the next Tony Robbins who's going to shove them through the door before they're ready. You're not there to give them advice from you and your experience. It's not about you, it's about them. And we go from the pendulum swinging, we're all about telling from our experience and directing, to, oh no, you're all about over here, them, and what do they know? What's inside them? Because they do know. We all know that. It might not be clear, but they know all that. And now we're finding that sweet spot in the middle because the
Mm,
pendulum went, we had the pattern interrupt to get out of the mode of every other person. And then we wear the role of this is how I now show up. And this is my new neural connection of asking questions and knowing there's more going on. We've got to be the person. We have to be the human being in between that does
yeah.
both, because
Yeah.
otherwise we're making it about us. And I know there's more there. I know I want to go deeper. I know they can tell me more.
Yeah.
They're not there. They're not there. And they don't
Yeah.
want to for whatever reason. But strangely enough, here's something too, that silence. How do we hold it differently? And this is going to be an energetic piece of the conversation. When we're in that space of the disinterested friend who really has heard enough of it, that silence feels different than the coach who's just waiting for more. And it's that invitational silence of versus the I don't care silence.
And now we've got to find an in between
Mhm.
of being disinterested and being overly interested.
Being unattached,
Yeah.
being unattached
Being unattached.
to both wherever they go and however I'm showing up. Because that's not about, I'm just here.
That could be probably for me what you just said, one of the most useful concepts for a coach because I think in the fixer mode, in the mode that most coaches come from of I'm going to solve your problems, I'm going to fix everything, I'm a great motivational speaker, all of those, when we go from that side to being a true coach, there's a huge attachment we have to unattach from. We're going to unattach from my suggestions, from my advice, from my fixing. But now we have to look at once we've unattached there in the session, how are we showing up to be unattached in regular conversations, but attached enough that isn't fully unattached, right? How are we present? I do care that you don't know, but how do I stay unattached to not knowing what you don't know?
Here is your friend, not as your coach. If you ask me for opinion or something else, I'll probably ask some questions. But I'm not here to be in the tell me more about do you now, I would say the do you want to talk about it? That's very different than ooh, tell me more about not knowing.
For sure. But let me ask you, Dan. I mean, I fully confessed mine. As we wrap up this episode, do you sometimes get triggered when somebody close to you or your wife says, I don't know, and you know there's something more there? And do you
Oh yeah.
ever bite that bait?
In some relationships I've learned not to because I've gone there and you've gotten the hand slap. In others, depending on the role, like I think about certain family members who are younger than me. And I very much fall into the Uncle Dan phase when the conversation goes a certain way and it's like right in front, like, look, I can sit in that. Tell me what's going on here. And then there comes a moment because of my age and their age. I'm like, look, this, and then I just completely swap roles. But that's really the more familiar role to me and what they're somewhat expecting from me. But it's not the only one I have. Oh yeah, I get triggered back all the time.
Right. I mean, when people know what coaching is and they're aware of what you do, that's very different than when somebody who has no idea and they say, I don't know. And you're like, well, what does that mean? Like they don't even know
Mhm.
they don't even realize they've just moved into a coaching conversation.
And
Not that I'm wanting
I'm
it to be that.
and I'm remembering now, like this is going way back, like 30 some years ago. And I do not have a degree in psychology, or I don't. But even 30 years ago, long before I came into these fields, I always had an interest in it. And I would read psychology books because I was really trying to figure myself out. And a lot of my friends knew that I did. And it's the same thing. They just knew that I read those books. And if I started like I know you're psychoanalyzing me right now. No, no, I don't need that.
That's, that thing that right there is why we did that video of assumptions. The number
Mm-hmm.
one habit wrecking your life is because we assume, just like assume you don't know. I'm like, I'm going to assume I'm going to just swipe in and, um, or sweep in, I guess is the word, sweep in and ask you an exploratory question or get curious about it. So, yeah, if you haven't seen the assumptions video, check it out. And yeah, so that's our episode. Anything else for this one? I think we.
Yeah, I'm going forward. I'm just going to assume they don't care about anything I have to say.
I love it. If you liked this episode, please like us, subscribe to us, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you later.